Hello, everyone, and welcome to part 6 of our Miracle Mindset push-ups. So today we're going to be talking about setting the goal of peace. So before we get into setting the goal of peace, I want to talk a little bit about intention setting. So the way that I see intention setting is you are giving a desire over to the divine, or you are telling the divine a desire that you have and are asking the divine to help you to co-create those circumstances in order for that thing that you want to happen to happen. That's the best way that I can put it. And so what's really beautiful about that intention setting process is, number one, and I think this is the most important one, you get to see how the divine loves you, how it wants nothing more than for you to be happy, because it is moving every piece and part in the world, in the universe, in order to manifest that which you desire. So it shows you how much the divine truly loves you. The second thing is that it shows you the power of a focused mind. When we are focused and aligned in an intention on a goal, we get to see it manifest. We get to see our literal thoughts come into being. So it shows us the power of our minds. The third thing is it begins to illustrate the divine relationship between you and whatever you ascribe to your higher power, be that God, be that the angels, your guides, source, whatever you ascribe that name to. And you get to see, not only does it wants you to be happy, but you also get to see how you begin to interact with it and how it begins to interact with you. Because in this co-creative process, you're going to be led. Maybe you get maybe your intention is to get a really good parking, and all of a sudden you normally leave like 5 minutes early, and you get the nudge to leave 20 minutes early. And thank goodness that you did, because guess what? That's the only way you got a good parking. Because otherwise you would have been late, because you would have been stuck in traffic if you didn't leave that 20 minutes earlier, like you got the nudge to do. So maybe you'll get a nudge. Maybe it will just be a feeling. Maybe it'll be a vision. Maybe it'll be a sensation. But you get to really discover how the divine wants to communicate with you. And that's what's really beautiful. Now, when it does come to all these intention settings, a good majority of the time when we set them, it's more of like a personal goal. We're like, okay, I want this to happen for me. We're not necessarily worried about how everything else is going to affect everyone else. We're just like, I want that promotion. I want that front parking. That's all I really care about. And when we set the goal of peace, what is so beautiful about that goal is that we get not only what we desire, but everybody gets what's going to be for their highest and best good. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily that we're going to know what that looks like. And that's what I think is really wonderful about setting the goal of peace, is you're moving deeper into trust. You're moving deeper into the knowledge that the divine wants only for your happiness, only for you to be happy, only for you to be joyful. And that's all it's ever really wanting to give to you. And so when we set the goal of peace, instead of saying, okay, I intend that I'm going to get this promotion, instead we can walk, before we even walk in, I intend for a peaceful outcome for everyone involved. That's it. And so not only are you setting your intention for you to get what you want, you're setting the intention for everybody to get what they want, and what's going to make everyone happy. And you're becoming more dependent on spirit to really decide for you. Now, like I said, you can set an intention really for anything, and the divine is going to do, what it does best: orchestrate all time, space, and reality, and people and circumstances to get you what you want. Or you can instead say, you know what, my goal is peace here. And that means you don't know, you're not deciding what should happen or how it should happen or when it should happen. You're simply making the decision. You're basically saying, I want happiness. And I want happiness not just for me, I want happiness for everyone else. In the Course in Miracles, it does tell us that we decide against ourselves a good majority of the time. We just don't realize it. We actually decide against our own happiness. So maybe you are setting that intention for getting, that promotion, but maybe you don't really believe that you could handle that promotion. Maybe you don't believe that you're even worthy of that promotion. And so the divine can't give you what you're not willing to have. It can't, because then it impedes on your free will choice, and it can never do that, because what is the divine? It is nothing but unconditional love. It loves you no matter what. And so it cannot impede upon your free will choice. If you're saying, yeah, I want this promotion, I am all for it, but in the back of your mind you have that belief, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I can't handle it, and the divine says, okay, well, you're telling me, in one hand, you're telling me you want it. In the other hand, you're telling me that you don't. And there's more energy behind the I don't want it and I don't deserve it. So that's the one I'm going to pay more attention to, because that's where your thoughts are more focused. But when we set the goal of peace, we're not deciding. All we're really saying is, I want the highest and best for everyone. That's what peace really is. So no matter the circumstance, you can always set the goal of peace. And you can set it before, you can set it during, you can even set it after. Like, that's the beauty of the goal of peace. It doesn't matter about time. So if you set the goal of peace beforehand, great. Before you get to the place that you're supposed to be at, all the circumstances are going to align for the most peaceful, beautiful outcome for everyone involved. If you set it as you're in it, because you're starting to see it like spin out of control, you're like, okay, Spirit or divine, God, Jesus, whoever, my goal is peace here. I set my goal as peace, and I leave it to you. Wonderful. Then everything is going to work out for everyone for that peaceful outcome. And then let's say maybe afterwards you're just feeling really nervous about it, and you're like, oh man, I don't know if I did good enough, or whatever the case may be. Then you can set that goal of peace, and then you're automatically setting yourself up for that which is best for you. And that's all that we need to do, is set that goal of peace. Instead of setting the goal of, let me get this promotion, let me get that front parking, let me get this, let me get that. Instead of focusing on just ourselves, let's begin to broaden that horizon. Because sometimes what happens, especially like when it comes to manifesting, you eventually reach a plateau where you've manifested everything you've ever wanted. And then you're kind of like, okay, well, I'm at the top of the mountain. What's next? And what we can do, that's where that goal of peace is. The goal of peace is beyond that plateau. It's beyond that mountaintop. That's where you get to start climbing a brand new mountain. Because instead of just focusing on you and what you want, you're focusing on the whole and saying, okay, this is what I want, peace for everyone. I want happiness for everyone. I want it to work out for everybody. Now, once again, it's not going to necessarily always look the way that you think that it should. So maybe you're like, I really want that promotion, and you set the goal of peace and you're like, yeah, I'm going to get that promotion. Well, let's look at that. Then you didn't set the goal of peace. You're still setting your goal as, I want the promotion. The goal of peace is set without an agenda. There's nothing behind it. It's not like, I'm going to get this promotion. I want this promotion. It's just, I want the highest and best for everyone involved. And that's all that I want. And I want to share with you a story about that and how, it worked for me and how it continues to work for me on a continuous basis. So when I was driving for Uber, it was my very first day, and I was terrified because, I'm picking up strangers in my car, and I was just like, oh, I don't know, like, am I going to be able to get that, I'm not super great with directions. I had a GPS, like I had my phone and all that, so it was fine, but I was still nervous about it. And so I was just like, okay, Spirit, excuse me, my goal is peace. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but my goal is peace. So I turn, on the Uber thing where it says like I'm available. And I start driving and I pick up, one person. It was fine. Picked up a second person. Great. Picked up the third person. Now, the third person, they were like, okay, come pick me up. And then you need to go to the Kroger. Then we need to go to the Chick-fil-A. Then we need to go here. Then we need to go here. And I'm like, oh my God, there's like, what is happening? And so, he gets in, he's like, oh, hi. And I was like, hi, how are you? How's your day? Do you need any water? Would you like to listen to music? So forth, so on. And he was like, well, we have a lot of stops to make today. And I was like, sir, I'm sorry, I'm new to this. Can you can you explain that to me? And he was like, oh, of course. He was, I swear that he was just there to inform me, to make my day better, because he told me about stops and how, like, I need to charge him for those stops because we're stopped and that's part of the thing, and all of this stuff. And like I asked him, I said, sir, are you an Uber driver? He's like, nah, I've just taken a lot. And I was like, oh, okay. And then here was the best part. He went into Chick-fil-A and he was like, would you like anything? And I was like, sir, I said, I'd love a bottle of water if you don't mind. He's like, you want any food? And he's like, it's my treat. Don't worry about it. And I was like, but I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, but I'm driving you. Like, I'm taking you, you're paying me to drive you where you need to go. And now you're offering to pay for lunch, for lunch for me. And I was like, I mean, if you don't mind, I'd love an 8-count nugget. What do you know? It comes out with a bottle of water and an 8-count nugget and some ranch for me. And I was thrilled. And so, then I dropped him off, at his other location. I was super excited about it. I was like, wow, that's so great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Very grateful. And then, I reset my goal as peace. And then I got, another text, and the person was like 5 minutes away. And I was like, oh, okay, great. And they're like, well, I've just been in a car accident. My car's on the side of the road, but, just kind of giving me the instruction. I was like, okay, no worries, got you. And so, the tow truck was already there when I pulled up. And so I was able to drive her home, and we were talking. And, for me, I basically started giving her basically like a life coaching or a life counseling talk. And by the end of it, she gave me a $20 tip, was sobbing in the back of the car because she felt so relieved, and just was like, oh my God, thank you. And she kept on being like, God sent you to me. You're my angel. I know that's why you were there, because you were meant to like calm me down and help me to feel peaceful. And, then she actually then went ahead and she booked a session with me as well. So once again, it was peaceful for me because I was able to do what I love, which is to be of service to people through the spiritual principles of A Course in Miracles and just through my own intuitive information. And so she got what she needed as well, because she got to be calmed down, and she got, that sense of peace. Because that's what she said when she left the car. She's like, I feel so much more peaceful than I did. And she's like, and I thank you for that. She kept on calling me her angel. So it was just a beautiful experience, just setting the goal of peace. Then I'll tell you about another situation where I set the goal of peace in the middle of something. And so I had gone to dancing lessons because I was really excited. It was something I wanted to try. And so I had set, I didn't set the goal of peace like I normally do. I was like, I'm going to go in here and it's going to be great. So I went in, and it was a great time. But then I started to notice that I was deciding against myself, and I started to see like some shifts and changes. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to reset my goal of peace, because I was starting to get nervous because they're like, we're changing partners. We're doing this. We're doing that. And I was like, I don't know what's happening. I panic. And so I just reset that goal of peace. And what do you know? Of course, the perfect situation occurred where this lady, I could see that, she was with her husband, and she was like having a lot of trouble, like with one of the moves, but she didn't want to, I guess she didn't want to admit it because her husband was there. I don't know. But all of a sudden in my mind, I was like, can we switch partners? And I just asked, I said, can we switch partners? She was like, oh my God, of course. So, we switched partners, and she came to me, and then she was able to ask the teacher for help, because she felt more comfortable asking for help with me, which was fine. I didn't care. But I was, once again, able to be of service, able to make a new friend. And it was just great and wonderful. But I said it in the middle of it. And look at that beautiful circumstance. It worked out for everyone. It wasn't just for me. It was for everyone. And that's how the goal of peace works. It's not just that you get what you think is best for you. It's not that you get, wonderful, great things that are, showering down on you. It's everyone gets wonderful and great things showering down on them, regardless if that is what you perceive as good for them or not. Once you set that goal of peace, you have put the divine in charge of deciding. And another thing that you can do with this tool is setting the goal of peace is when you start to really go deeper with this and you begin to start to see yourself deciding against yourself, you can just say, Spirit, please use this situation for the coming of my peace instead of for my destruction. And we're actually going to be talking about decide for me in our next installment of our miracle mindset push-ups. So that is today's miracle mindset push-up. It's set that goal of peace. It's okay if at first you want to set intentions to clarify for yourself. That's okay. But remember, the goal of peace means happiness for everyone. And so just test it out. See how it works for you. Try it before you leave for work. Try it before you go out and drive somewhere. Just really start to test and play with it, because that's really what the divine wants us to begin to do. It wants us to play. So let's start playing by setting the goal as peace.